Hey, it's Teresa from Dodge Nature Center, and time for another Nature to Go. Do you hear that? That sound of leaves in the fall? Fallen leaves brings that quintessential sound and smell to the season. But those fallen leaves, do they serve a purpose? Well, they do. Actually, they serve several purposes. Now, they're frequently used by squirrels to build their nests, their drays. Leaves act like mulch. They help retain water in the soil, keeping it moist. They also protect the spring ephemeral wildflowers that are resting underneath those leaves. And they're good at preventing erosion because when we get rain and it's coming down hard and fast, the leaf layer slows that water down. The leaves also serve as shelter for invertebrates and hibernating animals like wood frogs. But the fallen leaves happen every year, year after year after year, and shouldn't they get piled up eventually, more and more? Well, that's where some of the most underappreciated members of the forest come in. I'm talking about decomposers. Now, they're not as enigmatic or flashy as your predators, and they're not as charming or quirkily entertaining as many prey animals. But these organisms are the ones that make the leaves disappear. They go about their work silently, steadily, and they're usually overlooked. The largest of these essential forest-dwelling decomposers are the invertebrates, critters like roly-polies, slugs, millipedes, certain kinds of beetles, and of course, worms. They are responsible for shredding and breaking down the leaves into small pieces, which allows nutrients to re-enter the soil. Now, it has to be said, worms are especially efficient at this processing of leaves, and many of our forests are now home to invasive worm species that can totally remove all the leaf litter. This is a major concern for forest health, but it's such a big topic that we'll talk about it in a different episode of Nature to Go. Back to the leaves. The invertebrates break the leaves down into small pieces, which creates lots of surface area. Much of the leaf material passes through their bodies and it remains in their feces. So there's lots of nutrients available in these tiny broken down leaves and invertebrate poop. And that's where the next group of decomposers comes in, the fungi and bacteria. Being microscopic, it's more efficient for the fungi and bacteria to work on these tiny little pieces rather than full-sized leaves. The thousands of kinds of fungi and bacteria release enzymes that further break down the leaves and feces until what's left is the brownish-black material we find in soil. This is humus, and it's a key component of rich, fertile soil needed for forests to be healthy. If the process sounds a lot like what happens when we compost, it is. Composting is what it's called when humans control the process. But nature did it first and is continually working at returning nutrients from leaves and other dead plant parts back to the soil. It's part of the great soil food web. So if you're out walking in the woods, look at the fallen leaves on the forest floor. Know that there are literally billions of organisms, from large to microscopic, busy at work underneath your feet, decomposing those leaves so that the nutrients are there for the next crop of leaves to be able to grow. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Nature to Go, and we'll talk to you again next time.